welcome to In the Cool of the Day and today's segment of People Connecting People. I'm your host, Ruth Pegaron, and I have a special show for you today. My guest is a seasoned daily money manager with over 20 years of experience. She has her MBA from the Marymount University. She focuses on helping older adults live independently and securely using personalized solutions, helping them navigate the unique challenges of financial organizing as they age. She's a member of the American Association of Daily Money Managers, Superior Options for Seniors, the Arlington Chamber of Commerce, and a board member of Arlington Neighborhood Village. She resides in Arlington, Virginia with her husband, 2 children, and their dog Lucky. So please welcome the owner and CEO of C. Dolan and Associates, Christine Dolan. Hello, Christine.
Hi, Ruth. Thank you for having me today.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you for being here. I'm excited to hear all about a daily money manager and what you do daily. But before we do that, why don't you just tell us a little bit about Christine?
Absolutely. So I'm a native to the area, third generation.
Third generation.
In the area. I know, you don't hear that
I was
very
say, I don't
often,
think
right?
I've ever heard that.
Right,
Yeah.
and I actually bought the house next door to the house that my grandparents built.
Oh,
so I have pictures of me as a little
cool.
girl growing up in this front yard, not knowing that one day I'd be living in that house with my family.
Oh, my
so
goodness.
I love being in the area and being part of the community.
Well, that is a cool story. Yeah, now that is something special. Third generation. And you named your dog Lucky. But I think you're lucky too. So what kind of dog do you have?
German Shepherd.
A German Shepherd? Okay,
Yeah,
good. I love that
He's big and
name.
he's scary looking to many people, but he's so sweet.
He's sweet. Yeah, they
So
have a special
sweet.
place, don't they, in the home?
They really do.
They really do.
The family we choose.
The family we choose, exactly, exactly. So I am glad you're here. I am so interested personally, and I know the audience will be as well, to hear what is a daily money manager?
Absolutely. A daily money manager helps you financially stay organized. So not a certified financial planner,
Okay.
but helps you with your bill pay, helps you pay your bills, helps you stay on top of the statements when they come in, gather information for your taxes, help you pay your taxes, your estimated taxes, get all the information together and get it to the CPA for tax time. We'll initiate long-term care policies and track those, make sure that you get your money back, make sure that everything is taken care of, that you're following your elimination period. All kinds of things, all kinds of special projects pop up, but really it comes down to being financially organized on a daily basis, weekly, monthly, your daily finances.
Well, good. And I noticed you're a member of the National Daily Money
Yes,
Manager Association.
yes.
So that association, tell us a little bit about that. And,
Absolutely.
and how each professional, like yourself, was there
As a part of it.
Yes.
So the American Association of Daily Money Managers will help you find a daily money manager if you live in an area, maybe Chicago or somewhere outside the DMV, and you need somebody. You can always call somebody you trust, such as myself, and help you find one that's vetted, but you have to be background checked every 2 years, and they have standards and procedures, ethics that you have to follow, all kinds of regimens, training, all kinds of things that you have to follow to be an active member of the organization. And it's just a really great way to know, besides a referral, that you have somebody that cares about the industry and is going to make a difference, and they're trusted. Because oftentimes when somebody comes in, they're like, oh, my neighbor's been helping me do my bills, and I'm like a little dog with the ears, and they go up. I'm like, oh, okay, great. Might be a great situation, and sometimes it's not so great. Sometimes even with family.
Right. Well, having a professional, I think, with anything is always going to be helpful, because you have a balance of neutral. You're not personally connected.
Right.
So,
Right.
a neighbor, although is great, they all still have an emotional connection because we're neighbors.
Right.
But having a professional do it is probably a little bit more comforting because the person is neutral, and I'm sure that's where you come in to play.
Absolutely, and it helps too, because then they're not in, some people don't like them in their personal business.
Right.
Like they want them to help, but they don't want them knowing all of what they have or they don't have. You know, that's very personal.
It
And
is.
It takes time to build up that trust and to have that.
How does one recognize that they may need a professional such as a daily money manager? You said it perfectly, that it's not a financial
Right.
advisor.
Right.
And I think people understand what that is. But how do they know? How can they recognize
When it's time that they might need some help.
Yeah, or someone, maybe a child, taking care of their older parents, the sandwich generation now.
Absolutely.
How could they recognize maybe we need to get mom or dad or both a little help just with the daily money management?
Well, oftentimes it comes from two different shoots, should I say, that something happens to somebody. They have a fall or something cognizant starts to happen in the family, or other professionals in the industry recognize this. Their financial planner, their CPA, their estate lawyer, a good friend. Bills are starting to pile up. Things aren't getting paid. And or they're just overwhelmed with dealing the daily mail. It just never stops. We all can relate to that.
Oh, we all can
never
relate. It never
stops.
stops.
And if you don't address it right away, it's just overwhelming to many people. And then what do you do with it once you have it? What papers do I need to keep? How many years of these taxes? How many years of these statements do I need to keep?
Right.
What do I need to keep? What do I not need to keep? And who's going to keep this organized when I'm stuck in a chair?
Right.
So there's all kinds of different scenarios, but generally it's when things start slipping on the day to day.
When one can recognize that
Yes.
this is a little bit much.
It's a bit much.
Okay, great. Thank you for that
You're welcome.
answer. And then when someone does call you, is there a questionnaire they go through first to just help you understand if they do really need you?
I wouldn't say for me, I don't have a questionnaire, but I like to have a conversation with them and just hear their story.
Yes.
How are they to the place that they are now? And it might be somebody else that's a part of that story that's brought me in, a referral or a friend or family member says, oh, my sister, my mom, my aunt needs help. Can you come and talk with us? So sometimes it's first on the phone, but then I always go and meet with them in person, wherever they live. Their house, assisted living, wherever they live, and meet with them and see for myself what's going on. Show me your piles. Show me what you do with your mail. What is your procedure? Because I'm not in there to completely change it unless it really needs it.
Right.
I'm there to streamline it and make it easier and make sure that there's no fraud happening, that everything is copacetic, everything's getting paid, everything that's coming in does come in, and that they're protected.
I appreciate you leading me to my next segment, which was going to be with everything going on with fraud today. It's a lot different than I'm sure you saw when you first started your business. Do you help with that?
Absolutely. And by looking over your statement, and we all should be doing this, whether you get a paper one or whether you do it online, you really should look at that. Those little charges that are on there that you might think nothing of, call and question it, because it can lead to something else. And it's, as we all know, these guys are professional crooks.
Yes.
They have gotten so good at what they do.
Yes.
Texting, calling, getting into your accounts, and they are unbelievable at it. So many times people think nothing of it. Oh, Christine, the bank just called me. So I went to a client's house last week, and we were going to work on some stuff he needed for taxes. Well, we had a big diversion because I came in and he was on the phone and he said, oh, my financial advisor, that's what he calls me, is here today. And the guy said, well, I heard the guy say, well, we'll get rid of her. And I was like, oh, well, average person isn't going to say that.
No, they're not going to say that. Right.
Lo and
The
behold, it
professionals
was
aren't
the
gonna say
bank
that.
calling him about a charge that he had. And can you verify these charges? And was trying to get into his accounts. And they had gotten into a number of them already. So we spent the afternoon, late into the evening, getting everything shut down and changed.
Oh,
I mean, it's unbelievable how these people are coming in these days. So it is a lot about protection. Just checking that on a regular basis, having somebody check it who's trusted, is such a big help.
Wow, that is a wonder. That's a great story because it is happening, and you see a lot of news programs and all of that, about that.
Oh, yeah.
And then you mentioned taxes. So I know you're not an accountant, a CPA, those type of things. And like you said, you probably bring others in. But for taxes, you help them get them ready.
I do.
Okay.
I help them get them ready, so we'll get all the information, and then I'll create a spreadsheet of everything that they have for the year, of what comes in. So the following, and then I'll give that to the CPA. Here's my spreadsheet of everything that's come in and all the amounts. If something's missing, let me know. With their permission that I can talk to the CPA, let me know what's missing, we'll get it, and we'll add it to the list, so that the next year all we have to do is check, oh, we have this, we have this, we have this, we have this.
Wow.
Makes it so much easier, and it takes the stress off of them.
And the family, or whoever you
And the
said invited you
family.
in.
Right.
I'm sure they're relieved when you're there.
Right.
So how often, I mean, it's very detailed. I know most bills, or most people pay their bills even just once a month. But how often do you find yourself visiting your average client? Is it that once a month because it's bill time, or how does that?
If I'm helping somebody with their bills, it's at least twice a month.
Okay.
Usually it's weekly, but not everybody needs it weekly. There's a few clients out there that still want to do it on their own, and I just oversee things every few months with them. How's it going? How's everything going? And help them with their estimated taxes. So I'll pay the estimated taxes with them, take it to the post office if that's their preference, send it certified, take care of that for them. So it just really depends on the individual and what services and what they need, how much they need and what they need. But generally speaking, weekly to every other week. Some people, I have things where I can do most of it remotely and just check the accounts and pay things online.
And you mentioned remotely, so I know you're here in Northern Virginia, and you mentioned about the association, like if someone's in Chicago, they can go there. What if someone, the child is in another state, but mom or dad is here? Would that be, and the child called you from another state, would that be a client still that you can help, although the person bringing you in is in another state?
Absolutely, and that often happens
Okay.
where family is in another area. So I'm either the daughter they didn't have locally, or the daughter they didn't have at all, or maybe a better relationship than they have with the daughter. So yes, they can bring me in from another state and say my mom lives, at Goodwin House or wherever, or in her home. Can you go and visit? It's always more advantageous to have the opportunity to go and meet with them in person. There are a number of things you can do remotely, and once you're up to running with a client, you can do a lot of it remotely, but you still need to go in and touch base with them. It's a very personal relationship. I think of my clients as an extension of my family, and I think about them all the time and what I can do to make a difference in their life, to make this piece of their life smoother, more streamlined, and easier so they can enjoy the later years of their life.
Exactly. And I know you strategically say older adults, but it's really, I mean, what is older anymore? I mean,
it totally depends on what's going on in your life.
Right.
And it's not all just seniors. Sometimes people might be just really busy working. They have children, they might have parents that they're helping out. They just don't have time to do this.
Right, and it's necessary.
And it's necessary.
You have to keep a roof over your head. You got to keep the
Right.
lights on, the gas.
Right.
So perfect. Thank you for
Stay
saying
on
that. I
top
wanted
of
to
that.
clarify that. So it's for anyone.
It's
so
for anyone.
Thank you. Thank you.
Predominantly seniors, but it's for anyone.
Anyone. Great. Thank you. Well, it's time for a short break. We will return after these important messages.
Cook foods to the right temperature using a food thermometer. 3,000 Americans will die from food poisoning this year. Keep your family safer. Check your steps at foodsafety.gov.
Welcome back. You are watching In the Cool of the Day, and today's segment of People Connecting People with my special guest, Christine Dolan, owner and CEO of C. Dolan and Associates. And prior to the break, we were just talking a little bit about how you interact with clients and what you do to help them. You mentioned that you do go and visit with them, and then sometimes it becomes remote. But you definitely go in everyone's home, and you want to meet them, and you want to help them and see what
And
they
see
really
what's going
need.
on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
everybody has to be very individual.
It is.
I'm sure. This
It
is
is.
kind of I can imagine my bills versus my brother's, or you know what I mean? It's
And your
just a very
piles, like a
and
lot
your
of people
piles,
say,
right?
oh, I have piles everywhere, and you go in their house and it looks like this.
Right.
And you go in somebody else's house and they say, I don't have that much, and there's stuff everywhere, and you're like finding bills everywhere. So
Yes.
it really depends on the individual, and it's so important to get in there and see what's going on.
See what's going on. So when you're in there to meet with them, how long are you, or after you have them as a client, what is your normal visit time? Like how long are you
Generally
with
speaking, a visit is about 2 hours. Sometimes you have to stay longer. Sometimes it's shorter if you can get done what you need to get done in a short amount of time. But like when I went to that client last week and we thought we were going to get
Yes,
some stuff
sounds
for
like-
taxes, so I thought I'd be there an hour and a half. And I was there well until the evening until we had it taken care of. So many hours.
Right.
But generally speaking, it's about 2 hours. That's usually about the max that somebody is at their complete absorption level of, I've had it. Time to move on and do something else in the day.
Okay. And then how, what about the initial meeting? Is that about 2 hours too when you're assessing?
The initial meeting, I say it's for an hour, but oftentimes it's for 2 hours.
hours, yeah.
Yes, because you want to hear what's going on, you want to see what's going on, and you want to hear from their perspective and others around that are sharing with you what's going on. And they might share a little bit of that with you privately. Once they come on as a client, though, I have an authorization to speak with certain people. If they don't give those friends, family, CPA, financial advisor permission to speak with them, then I don't discuss anything personal with them anymore at all. Once they become a client of mine, it's very confidential. I take that very seriously.
Yes, and that's good. I mean, money is a very, very emotional topic, as we all know.
It is.
So my hat goes off to you even choosing this profession because
Thank
it's very
you.
emotional. People worked very hard to achieve it. And then there's heirs and legacy, and
Right.
there's a lot of different things that are tied to money. And a lot of the older generation, you know, people in their 90s, I even think of, they've really worked hard, and they've
worked
seen
hard.
a lot, and the depression, and just the dollar just means a lot to them. So I'm sure that those initial conversations, they can be a little bit, would you say they could be a little tough, or how would you describe them just when they're
They
when they're
can be a
getting
little
started?
challenging for the person that's getting started, depending on the person. Generally, they have a certain portfolio, though, to bring somebody in that they can pay to help them do their bills. So I don't have any standards on that. I don't say, your portfolio has to be this amount for you to be a client of mine. To me, it's more about helping the person and making a difference in the community. So I have had some clients where I've had to do some pro bono work, but and I continue to do that, but I don't advertise that. Otherwise, I'd be working for free.
Right, yes,
all the
exactly.
time. But I do volunteer with the Neighborhood Village, and I'm a mentor with the Daily Money Managers Association, and we'll help people. And we have a wonderful forum where you can put information out there and share things that you've experienced. So when I had this fraud case, I put it out there, all the specifics on what was happening. And there was a couple people that responded to me from California
Oh, wow.
and experienced
That's
something
wonderful.
similar. So,
Good.
but if it can help anyone, and I share it with everybody I see and talk to about, like, this just happened, watch for it yourself. Because it has nothing to do with being educated or not educated. It's happening to everyone, young and old.
And old, it does, it happens. Whoever they can
Whoever
get
they
a target
can get.
on and is available.
Whoever they can get, we're all vulnerable.
It's nameless, it's rankless. It's,
That's right.
Yeah, it really is
That's
in
right.
a lot of ways. It's just whoever they can get access to.
Yeah.
In whatever way they can. So as far as, do you ever have a client that may just say, you know what, I'm doing okay, but I am a little overloaded. Can you just come in and give me a couple techniques maybe to just get me more organized with my daily money management?
Absolutely.
And do you do that
Absolutely.
type of service as well?
I do.
Okay.
So, and it really would be up to them how often we'd meet. Maybe in the beginning it would be once a month, just to check in and see how they're doing, see what they're doing, have them show me what they're doing, tell them what would help them streamline things and make it easier, and how to file things differently to make a difference, what to do with certain papers, what not to do, what to get rid of, so they feel a little more freed up. And then I'll touch base with them in a month. Let's schedule another meeting. See how you're doing. Might have to be in 2 weeks, might not have to be for 2 months.
Right, or
It
maybe
all
6
depends.
months.
Or
That
6
might be
months.
all they need.
They might say, hey, this is great, thank you. And that might be all they need, which is wonderful.
With somebody to help them.
With somebody
just
to help them get going.
going.
Get going,
Well,
absolutely.
that's wonderful that you do that. Now, how do you charge? I don't want your rates, but just, would someone would call you, is it an hourly? Is it by project? Is it monthly? Or you are like on a retainer? There's some professions you're on retainer.
Right, right.
And then there's others it's by use.
I charge hourly and I invoice monthly for the prior month. So, whatever those hours were for the month, you'll get a bill in May for April for all the hours of the work that we did. Once you're with me for a year, 6 months or a year, I'll look back and do a calculation of what the average was. If it looks like we're going to continue to go in that same pattern, where if you want to, you can do a monthly retainer and we can go off of that.
Okay.
It's really personal preference. But the reason I do it hourly in the beginning and most daily money managers do is you don't know. You and I can have the same situation, want the same services, and take less time. You could take an hour and they might have to take 3 hours with me. So it really just depends on the situation and what's going on. That's why hourly works so well in this industry.
Okay, got it. That makes a lot of sense. Now, you also mentioned sometimes you're called in by professionals, or they see a situation and they want more help.
Right.
Do you ever do the same in reverse, where you're involved with the client
Good
and you see
question.
a situation? Do you have the permission from the client to then call in other professionals to help?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
And very often that happens, and I'll ask permission. Is it okay? It looks like there's a number of boxes still in your dining room. How long have they been here? I can help you go through that, or I can get an organizer in here that can help who's going to cost less, but I can assist with it. I went to a client that I had a meeting with last week, and she had unexpected surgery. And so she needed help. And so I said, I have some referrals for you. Can I call them? Do you want me to give you the numbers? How would you like to proceed? So I often do the exact thing you're talking about, where I can turn around and refer people to other resources that are very helpful to them.
And they're open to that. And
They're usually
helpful.
open when it's a referral. They're usually open. Sometimes it takes some time to get there, like with a caregiver.
Yes.
It takes time, but they get there.
Yes. Now, I do have a question just to go back a little bit personally. I noticed you have your MBA. Did you think you would be helping people in this capacity when you were getting that degree? Or?
That is such a great and beautiful question. I grew up with my grandparents close by. As I had mentioned, I grew up that house I'm now next to it, which I never thought. And so we would come over all the time and help my grandparents weekly, grocery shop for them, help them go through the mail, whatever they needed. We were their little mini village to help them. And now when I look back, it makes perfect sense what I'm doing.
Right.
I had no idea how this was shaping me for my life.
Your training ground.
My training ground of just growing up in this family.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful. And my grandfather had a stroke right before I was born. So I could never verbally communicate with him. I could,
Right.
but he couldn't speak back. So I learned very early on, watching his body language, what he's saying, what he's feeling. And that taught me a lot too that I didn't realize at the time. So I love what I do in making a difference in people's lives.
Well, that is a great story. That was your training ground.
That was my training
That
ground.
was your training ground, because you obviously love it and you do it well. Now, I do have to ask you, what is your client capacity, or do you just have a team of daily money managers to help, or how does that work with your?
I am a solopreneur myself,
Okay.
C. Dolan and Associates, and I have a number of associates that help me. And I love it that way because the clients do become a part of my family. I generally take people on as they leave. So when they leave, I have capacity, depending on what that person was taking up, for other areas that I can take on. It might be something small, depending on what the person needs, or I might have a big bandwidth that opens up. So it really just depends. And if it's something that I can't take on, or if it's out of the area that's, you know, an hour, hour and a half away, then I'll refer them and put it out on our forum for another daily money manager. And I'll make sure that that's going well with them.
So you could kind of do it together.
Yes.
When that does happen, do you involve Zoom calls or any kind of conferences to make that connection so that, you know, you might can't physically get there,
Right.
but at least you make that connection?
Yes, and I'm happy to go and meet with them in person and do the introduction in person, because I think that goes a long way, and
That
to make
does.
sure that it's really a good fit. Because as much as they want to be a good fit for them, you want it to be a good fit the other way too.
The other way too, yeah,
Yeah,
because
it's
that
so
means a lot.
important.
That means a lot.
Yeah.
Give me an example of just how you interact, or just maybe a quick client story of something that was a success.
Something that was a success.
I know you shared about the taxes, but
The taxes
about-
and the, well, I think back to the most recent one was the fraud situation, because I was able to save this gentleman from having $198,000 stolen out of his accounts.
oh, that was a lot. Okay.
It was a huge
Yes,
success.
that was
And I
a
had
huge
another client that I consider a success. She's a retired ambassador for several years, and she said, Christine, I had a little microwave fire. And I said, oh, and she said, I'm just gonna have the cleaning lady clean it up. And I said, oh, well, okay, well, you know what? I'm in DC. I wasn't, but
Right.
I'm in DC. I'm going to swing by and just see it. Well, it was pretty bad. And so I called the insurance company and was able to get that taken care of for her. And they met me at the door, not her in the walker, all the
Wow.
contractors. So we
Wow.
got it all taken care of, her kitchen redone,
Wow.
but she didn't have to be the one at the door feeling vulnerable in her
To all
walker
of
where she
that.
can't go around and can't meet them. And
Right.
it was a great
That's a
success.
great story. All right, well, it's about that time,
Mm-hmm.
and thank you for that story. Great closing story.
Thank you.
So it's that time again. If you have any questions about today's segment, see the information scrolling below. You have been watching In the Cool of the Day, and today's segment of People Connecting People. Thanks for watching, and bye-bye.